You are now a little better, about to witness. Oh man, you don't miss it till it's gone. The awesome, crushing might of, wait for it, KNUCKLE! Woo! Welcome, my friends, to a show that apparently never ends. This is round number 310. I am a poet and I don't know it. And if I keep pushing it, I'll blow it. The greatest of all time. The best MMA commentator in the world. Bar none, on the tape, the last two. Bar none, not on the tape, the last truly free boys in America. Dr. Green Scott and Eugene S. We're here on the occasion of Father's Day. Hello, Father. Hello, Mother. For you fathers in the audience who don't suck, thumbs up to you, bud. Men don't talk to each other, typically about this kind of stuff. But if you're a hungry man doing a good job, hats off to you. But first, the words to live by. I'm on my way back to nowhere. I'm on my way and I cannot see so clear. I'm taking a real good look at you. Now I'm taking a real good look at your face. Being paid back and for always nothing. All right, ladies and gentlemen. You see what I just did there? I said ladies and gentlemen, because I know there's not but one gentleman who's watching the show, and that's probably me. And the only reason I'm watching is because I'm sitting in front of a monitor. And well, I would be if I wasn't on it. You see, it's a weird kind of solipsistic thing. Anyway, it's round number 310. Those of you concerned about my welfare and well-being know this. I went to the doctor. They sprayed a bunch of lidocaine down my throat, like 6 or 7 blasts down this nostril, 6 or 7 down this nostril. And he goes, swallow, it deadened everything like through here. He didn't tell you about the explosive diarrhea, which came later, but it helped. And I go, man, my whole face is numb. It reminds me of, he goes, what? I go, nothing. What else would make your face numb? I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. Turns out the guy was a wrestler, my doctor. Wrestled for the same guy I wrestled at Stanford. He was class of 97. Does that blow you away or not? A doctor younger than you. It's like, look, Sonny. Why don't you fuck off out of here and get me the real doctor? They're trying to build your confidence. I got it, but I need a real doctor. So this guy puts a camera down my throat, looks at my throat, because I'm fucking panicking, man. I'm like weak in the knees. I am a perfect profile in cowardice. I'm like, God, this is it, doc. This is it. Why me? Why not Henry Rollins? Take Henry Rollins. He deserves to die. Not me. Nah, take Anthony Kiedis. He saved the kid. I don't care. He deserves to die. Not me. Save me. All right. So fucking the guy puts the camera down, looks at my throat. He goes, well, you got like a cyst on this side and a nodule on this side. I could just come from being the singer. I don't know. I don't think that's a problem. What you do have along the whole back wall are acid burns. I said, how suddenly am I going to get acid reflux? Walking along fine, and he goes, I don't know, it's just bad luck maybe. So he gave me this this thing called, it was what's in Zantac, 150 milligrams before bedtime, no eating 3 hours, no chocolate. no tobacco, no coffee. I don't drink it anyway. No citrus, no fats, no spices, no cinnamons, no onions, no garlic. 3 hours after eating, sit up in bed as long as you can. You take this thing, they'll stop burning your throat. So my voice already sounds a little bit better. I don't know if you can hear it. I couldn't sing an Oxbow set, but I'll be practicing on Tuesday. But anyway, so I start to do some Columbo shit, reverse engineering it. And I go, yeah, you remember when the doctor said, you need to take these antibiotics because this other thing I thought was trying to kill me. And I took the antibiotics and I go, okay, my system's out of kilter. I need to take probiotics. So I've been taking probiotics for about a month. How long has my throat been hurting me? About a month. Bada bing. It's not bad luck. I tracked it down. Anyway, this is round number 310. It is on the occasion of UFC Fight Night Ottawa. It is Father's Day. For those of you who came in to see the earth, most everybody will stumble in on Face Punching Monday to see the show, but you guys are here now, and I have to say, and I'm going to say it right at the top. I'm usually casual about shilling in the comments below, which I write every week to introduce the show. And this is going to be a short show because I got to zap to San Francisco to do another radio show. But I usually put a link to an Ozzy article. But on Ozzy today, there's if you guys are following me at Eugene S. Robinson on Twitter, you've already seen the link. Somebody listening now might want to retweet it out so people who are just signing up to get it. But it's called A Father for a Day and the Non-Prodigal Son. And it's actually for the first time ever, I've written about my father. And it was a suit. If you care about literary efforts or journalistic efforts, it was even if I say so myself, a fantastic bit of writing because I put into practice what I've said before, what you've heard me say before on the show. If you are a man, you have one job and one job only, and that's to shoulder your burden without complaint. Those words should be burned into your head. I don't give a shit what they told you in the 60s and the 70s about, yes, it's okay to cry. Yeah, we want guys in touch with their feelings. And every now and then people want dribbles and drabs of real, insight into how you're working. Even if you happen to be thinking about jiu-jitsu moves and somebody says, your partner says, what are you thinking about? Maybe you might come up with, I was thinking about this book I read. Something that gives a window into your inner life. But nobody wants to hear you complain. And the reality of it is most men talk too fucking much. Okay, yeah, it's funny because I'm doing this show, but the reality of it is most men, what do you think mansplaining came from? You ever see a man walk into a group of women and it's like, oh, an audience, and the women all silently exchange looks? That's for you, blabby mouth. Shut up, listen more than you talk, and you might learn something about the people around you because we're all aggressive egomaniacs. And when given an opportunity, most people are glad to talk about themselves. The first person in a salary negotiation who brings up salary loses. Hang back. Don't say anything. So this piece was a marvel of actually trying to lay it on the line without pointing too many. No whining, no crying, no score settling, except in the most macro of ways. I just told what happened. So people have talked about unspecified disasters. That's what they used to describe an Oxbow record, unspecified disasters. There were a couple. There were a couple romantic ones, and then there were a couple of familiar ones. And, full blast without being full blast. I'm just the facts, ma'am. So you might want to read it. I'm going to put the link below. Or if you're sitting around your computer now, go to Ozzy.com and look up Father for a Day. You might, if you're interested in what's going on here and why specifically the best way to get to me is, Eugene, you of all people, you can get to the wellspring of a product of rape, criminal rape, which was my father, and and his bass playing for the CIA, 6 languages, speaking Eastern Bloc countries. It's like the craziest story ever told. So check it out. Anyway, we're here to talk about UFC Fight Night, McDonald versus Thompson, and I couldn't be happier. Mostly because out of 8 picks, I got 7 right, and I'm speaking really fast today because I want to get through all of this, and I'm gonna do it my way, which is typically go to the best stuff. Let me tell you something. I watch all of it, and if there's got to be a provision for fights to be don't cares who make their way to cares, it's really terribly tragic that cares don't get the same, the cares, the fights that we start out caring about don't get the same shuffling off the buffalo back to don't care, so that some of them might so rightly deserve. This will come up. This will come up later. Let's start with the Rory McDonald fight and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. If you watch the Care Don't Care preview, you know I picked Thompson because, and people are watching this fight not being able to figure out, like, the prevailing question is what's happening in Rory's head. Well, that is a question that, if you've been paying attention to Rory McDonald, you probably have been asking yourself for the last few years. Let me tell you something. For the fight book, and that's Fighter, everything everyone's about asking about, afraid to get asking for asking, this book right here, I interviewed Ty Domi. He was a Toronto, what is the hockey team in Toronto? The Raptors is a basketball. The Toronto Blue Jays, whatever. You guys got a hockey team there in Toronto. And he said, you know what? I'm friends with a lot of the enforcers. Ty Domi was a hockey enforcer. And this is old news for you. If you've read the fight book, you know what I'm talking about. And he goes into a section where he talks about the enforcers. And he goes, these guys are fucked up. They're fucked up. He goes, you got your UFC fighters. I got that. These UFC fighters, how often are they fighting? Once, twice a year? Yes, I'm unshaven. Yes, I look like a hobo. I'm a hobosexual. Yeah, means Steam Car Willie and Sterno Frank. Anyway, so he said, these guys are fucked up. You take your UFC fighter, your prize fighter, how often these guys fighting? They're sparring, but how often are they really fighting? A hockey enforcer is fighting every night, and this shit works on them. I'm not saying on the super, that's not the right word. I'm not saying on the long haul schedule of the average UFC fighter. I mean, when was the last time Rory McDonald had a fight? On a long haul schedule for a UFC fighter, I'm not saying that's not enough to wear on the head, but I'm saying the head component is a serious component. We've been thinking, I mean, you don't think the guy, it's his last fight on the card? What happens if he wins this fight? If I don't know if you pay attention to the stock market, you got the stock tickers, they have the little green arrow going up, the little red arrow going down. If I win, can I fight enough of a win can I find enough of a win to get them to the negotiating table where I can get a decent contract? What kind of lifestyle am I in? Are 3 fights enough to, and how old am I? Where am I going to be at 40? I mean, these are hard ass questions to ask yourself. I mean, you want to be, I hate to keep using dude's name, but you want to be a Mark Coleman trying to sell your belt at 45. Listen, let me explain something to you. With somebody like an actor, why we get these weird workaholics like Michael Caine or Tom Cruise, because as soon as that movie finishes, and no movie schedule goes more than like 2 months, as soon as it finishes, those guys are unemployed. Yeah. Oh, sure, there's a bank account, but you're worried about the float, man. I gotta pay property tax on this. I got a payroll of people who are working for me. And you start to get into this kind of self-fulfilling panic. You're like, oh my God, and you gotta keep it. It's like money is like water to a shark. You gotta keep moving through it, baby. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself where Tab Hunter never thought it would end. I say Tab Hunter. You look at me and you say, who? Johnny Ray. Well, okay, Johnny Ray did all right, but you know what I mean. You don't want to end up Mickey Rooney being beaten up by his caretakers. This could happen to money or not. Stephen Hawking, I'm guessing, is being beaten up by his sexy stripper wife. Did I make that up or did I read that somewhere? Doesn't matter. So this guy now, not only that, add to the fact that he's fighting in Canada and he's trying to get his high school teachers and he's in the midst of all this shit with he's got his family thing and the fractious thing with the UFC, and then his head kind of died. And then what echoed most in my head? Listen, I mentioned Dr. Gene Scott at the beginning. He talked about he was a demonologist. Dr. Gene Scott and Cabaret Voltaire did a record of some of his speeches called "The Last Truly Free Voice in America." He was at Stanford. Actually got his PhD at Stanford, had this great TV show where he would just stare at the camera for like hours and then berate people for not giving money. Robin Williams did an imitation of him. I'd like to talk right now about the theological connections between Jesus Christ and Spider-Man. and he would go off on these tangents. Well, he said something interesting. He said the junction of the Tigris-Euphrates River, the third of heaven that was cast out in the battle of the rebel angels was chained. They landed right there, and they were bound by forces, but they could exert the demonic influence throughout the region. He goes, that's why the Middle East was such a fractious place going back to 900 BC, right? The warring tribes, the essence of tribalism. So Dr. Gene Scott would talk about the third of the host of heaven that was rebel angels, third of the host of heaven, cast down, Tigris Euphrates, hanging out there, exerting this influence. But he would talk about a very specific number. It was like 275,000 demons. I mean, if you get into demonology, they're very specific about numbers. Numbers, like numerology, is like a big deal. Which, if you figure out the number of, angels mating with human women, there are a finite number of souls to go around. And, what we call evil is not. I find evil to be less an awareness of cruelty, maybe, is how you could define evil. It happens mostly in the absence of soul. Like if you read Werner Herzog's piece about, he goes, nature is not beautiful. The jungle is not beautiful. It's bestial and ugly, and he goes on. It's a great speech. I read it for this band called Crowhurst on one of their songs. But he says, you look into the eyes of a tiger, there's nothing romantic about that experience, And I've had that with people, and I've looked and I go, their souls are gone. A soul measures good and evil. Without a soul is a thermometer by which you measure good and evil. Without a soul, I mean, a Ted Bundy, was his evil, his delight in cruelty? He had no soul, so therefore no capacity, which means he was driven to do what he did. Free will was an issue, therefore he's almost absolved, So I say this all about Rory McDonald to say when Lawler said that Mystic Mac was better off not fighting him because he was going to steal his soul, I think that's what happened. Or to quote Dream Crusher Leopoldo Serrao, sometimes the things that get broken when you lose never get fixed. Is there any other way? And Stephen Thompson is in the exact same place. If I'm Rory McDonald and I'm in the clinch with Stephen Thompson, you know what I say? I say, I know you're winning this fight, but watch out for Joe Silva. I know you think the world is your oyster and you got nothing but good times up and ahead of you, but watch out for Dave Schaller. Or, just create, a shadow entity so that this guy, his glorious golden ride to the top has shadows, significant shadows, which do exist. Is there any other way to what happened to that Rory McDonald? How would this even benefit him? If he had a valiant loss, he could have gone to Bellator. Now he's got to endure the ritual humiliation of being lowballed, having to say he's going to go somewhere else, and then have a discussion with Scott Coker. There's plenty of talent now at Bellator. Nothing wrong with that, but you want to make that choice. You want to make that choice. And if you don't think, you know what? People are talking about $4.1 billion, which supposedly is the sale price of the UFC, which is purchased for $126 million. That's a pretty aggressive rate of return. And if you're a smart guy, you're setting yourself up right now, just like Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone said, I guess the UFC doesn't give a shit about me. Because they pay me like they don't give a shit about me. Yeah, Donald Cerrone is learning a valuable lesson about being a yes man. I had a friend who's a lifelong criminal. Can't help it. Smart guy. If you want to know his story, his name is Richard H. If you go to Aussie.com and type in Richard H., and he goes, the day my door was kicked in the day I was busted by the feds for international drug trafficking. I ran Facebook blocked it. And then it took them about 6 hours to unblock it because they thought I was writing a manual for drug trafficking. And this guy was an interesting guy. He had a very strange loyalty. As long as you didn't do business together, you could be friends. But the second you did business together, it was like jiu-jitsu. You and I could be perfectly good friends, but the second we step on the mat, I'm actually really going to try to beat you. Not just kind of play. I'm really going to try to beat you. Like when I try, or not even try. Don't try, do. I'm going to beat you. Well, I used to be me. I'm more relaxed about it now. So once he started that game, whatever kind of deal it was, he was going to try to beat. You'd be like standing there, man, I gave you $3,000. You were my friend. I trusted you. He's like, what? Are you unclear about how this game works? I'm supposed to take the queen. I'm supposed to take the king. I'm supposed to get crowned. I'm supposed to cross the finish line. I'm supposed to do these things. And Donald Cerrone is like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And they're different, same world, different planets. The bald one and that ilk are on a special planet where they do shit like, if you are stupid, you will get paid stupidly. Donald, Donald, oh man, Donald, you're great, cowboy, and we love you. You're great. Here's $5,000. Is it? Oh yeah, he doesn't even know what money is. Come on, get him out of here. Come on, man. There is nothing wrong. Think about the Nazi general Curtis Wolf, who fucking gave Dulles, Allen Dulles, a $50,000 itemized bill from the prisoner of war camp that he was swanning about in, complaining about not getting his second yacht trip a week, and then gave him a bill for having to pay for his own laundry. It's only correct. Ganz genau. Which is German for totally correct. With not a dint of shame. This is not an issue of shame. The person who does the laundry should get paid. If the person who does the laundry should get paid, does it make sense to you that I should pay them? The person who does the fighting should be paid. Does it make sense to you that the person who does the fighting does not get paid? Because it doesn't make sense to me. So Cerrone has finally witnessed that. And he went to a funeral. I mean, he played a funeral. He fought a funeral. Funeral for who? Patrick Cote. Man, that looks. Look, I like Patrick Cote, but this is a hard luck guy. Ever since his knee, I'm afraid to watch. I watch Patrick Cote fights like this. His leg goes out against freaking Anderson Silva. I'm superstitious. Can't watch that shit. Can't watch it. I figure it'll jump through the computer and into my eyes, and I'm going to go out and train, and my brain will go and make me do what he did. Well, Donald Cerrone won. He's in a great position, but you know what? That's not the kind of position. If you think that the bald one did what he did in regards to Mr. Helwani because he was a nice guy, you're completely and totally wrong about that. $4.1 billion who buys a lot of zip miles, or buys a lot of dumb and deaf. He's not going to be as long as I'm the president of this place. 4.1. And it doesn't say they have to go for it. No, they don't have to go for it. Valuation is a funny thing. Vice magazine is Wall Street comes out with their valuation at 5.5 bill. You know, you don't have to take it, you know, especially if it's a private company. Your stockholders, Sheikh Tanoon and the Fertitas and the Baldwin, no, we don't feel like doing that. But what do you think happens when they turn around and they go back to their advertisers? Big 7-Eleven wants to buy in on that turnbuckle for 50 grand. Yeah, that's what they want. That's not what they're gonna get. So okay, so Donald Cerrone, prime guy who's like kept up with the game. Patrick Cote, he got it. I mean, we knew this moment was coming. I mean, everybody felt bad for the guy, but damn. Steve Bossy, Sean O'Connell. When you see a fight like this, what do you see? You see the fact that light heavyweight, man, is going to be a graveyard when Johnny Boney Joni leaves it. I'm not kidding. You know it, and I know it. I mean, I picked Bossy to win, and he won, but Eugene, is this a C moving back to a DC? I don't know if that's possible. I like both these guys. But you know what? I like the guys at the juniper bushes scrabbling over a fucking bottle of night train. I like those guys too. I'm not busting my ass to see them. Olivier Aubin-Mercier versus Thibaut Gouti. Again, good fight. Valerie Letourneau and Joanne Calderwood. This was a great fight. I love this one. Everybody was giving me a hard time in the comments. Care, don't care. Oh, how could you? Letourneau went the distance. And I was like, you know what? Let me explain something to you. Losing, yeah, I got my Mateo Leo shirt. Losing is a habit. It's a habit. I know guys who have losing in their blood. I feel it. I feel it happening to me as well. I'm going to, the bald guy who sued me, who I put in the fight book, I'm not going to mention his name because he pisses me off, but his first name is Matt. And if you know the fight book, you might know what I'm talking about. And he used to have this character he called the pop-off mess-up man. So this is the guy who's blabbing off about stuff before it happens, and then it gets all ruined. I'm gonna tell you something. I've been approached by a major TV producer. This is a great moment, right? This is a great moment. Guy has a great conversation with me, feeling pretty good about each other. You know, I'm trying to get him into the whatever. You know, I get lots of calls. I got calls from NBC once, got calls from CBS. You know, could be just a guy sees your shit online, wants to chat about stuff, has different ideas. So we're chatting about this and that, basic conversation. Okay. And so like I'm thinking, I'm not going to go into greater detail. You got to know that this is a constant occurrence. If you do anything in media, people are constantly jockeying around on the ship, on the deck of the Titanic, trying to figure out how to partner, who to partner with, talents, you know, content, bada bang, moving this around. Oh, I mean, how do you think Michael Strahan ended up with Kelly Ripa? You know, I mean, whatever. Look, people trying to plan things. You know, mass media is massive. And the first thing I say when I get off the phone, what do you think the first thing I say? I should do it as a quiz. You guys could text me what your first thing I said was. I don't have time. I'm still rushing through the show, but I'll tell you the first thing that I said. I hang up the phone, great conversation, and I say, that's about fucking time. This is the wrong kind of attitude. So, you know, to beat the pop-off mess-up man, you know, the internal desire, what I say, losing is a habit, just to fuck up. I now do like corporations do, and I break my concerns into quarterly concerns. So whether it's I just have to make it through the second quarter, I just have to make it any decision that I could make, I'm going to hold off to the third quarter. I'll make a third quarter decision about this and that. And that way I don't get caught up in the day-to-day. So Valerie Letourneau could lose and go, you know, that was last quarter. Every quarter I'm judged by new result. My past performance is no guarantee of future successes, so forth. I got that. But the reality of it is, you know, I'm looking for a market growth delta over last quarter's production, and I'm sure I'll be able to pull it off. Bing, done. Letourneau is because you get panicked about losing. Instead, I say we're on a great roller coaster ride where anything could happen. Anything could happen. But that's not her. Joanne Calderwood, all you needed to know about she was the underdog going in. When they said she was from Glasgow, you should have changed your bet immediately. The average life expectancy for the average man in Glasgow, 55. You see a guy my age, that guy's like Yoda if he's walking around and he's healthy. It's a place I almost got into a street fight in a vegetarian restaurant. Me and this other guy, presumably a vegetarian, are screaming at each other over the tables. Perfect niceties, but I see him mad dogging my sound guy. So I'm mad dogging him. He's like, how you doing? I go, fine. How are you? He goes, just fine. You enjoying our town? I go, very much so. How's your night going? He's good. And now we're both standing up looking at each other with these kind of niceties. I say, you okay? He goes, I'm okay. I said, you're sure you're okay? He goes, yeah. He goes, you're sure? I go, I'm fine. I'm here. And he goes, and I'm here. And I go, are you going to enjoy your meal? He goes, yes, I think I will. I go, good. Glad to hear it. And we sit down, and for the rest of the meal, we're like this. And we're eating bean sprouts. Come on. Joanne Calderwood fucked her up. What do you think is next for Valerie Torno? She is now in this horrible place. Horrible place. We call it erectile difficulty place. I don't even, if you're a man, I don't even have to explain that to you. You know, that feedback loop where you go, oh shit, I'm not going to get it up here. And you know, so I got letters from some of you guys. You didn't really like me going on and on about the finiteness of your erection. But you know this is unknown but knowable. Or knowable but unknown. You will not have an infinite number of erections. And in fact, your erections will cease before you do. Which means that you will get to your last one at some point. That's what Letourneau was dealing with. What if I never win again? What if? Fuck, it sucks. But you know what? Presumably people have lives. So I didn't care about Jason Sago and Leandro Silva. And I still don't care about it, except to note that Leandro Silva got robbed. But for whatever reason, I don't know, Misha Sukhanov and Jan Kutalaba, nice head and arm, you know, black belt, sloppily sort of applied. Still don't care. Tamden McCrory, who was picked by King Nate, putting him down below me on the evening's tally against Krzysztof Jotko. I didn't care about this. Had I cared, I would have gone Poland all the way, and Jotko would knock the fuck out of him. But this was Tamden McCrory. I don't know where he's been. They were kind of vague about where he's been. But I didn't care about this fight. Do I care more because of the knockout? Maybe. I mean, it was an overmatched Tamden McCrory. It wasn't the same one that left. I'm still unclear as to why he left, but this was his chance. We're not going to. We may see him again, but man, his number in the Phantom Toll booth is like 89. Shit. Joe Soto, Chris Beal. Chris Beal, Brooklyn kid. Even though he spent a lot of time in Ventura, I guess he was born in Brooklyn. Against Joe Soto, got choked the fuck out. But he choked and he got choked. It was an exciting fight. I didn't care about it. This moved from a don't care to a marginal care. Elias Theodoro, also known as Fabio, and Smilin Sam Alvey, this was a care that should be a don't care. I want to punish Smilin Sam Alvey. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking. I have no idea what he was thinking. I'm completely and totally confused. Maybe, you know, when the Smilin Sam thing started to catch on and, you know, people started to kind of get his, and he's maybe got some more Twitter fans and, you know, he's getting emails from people and maybe that kind of he got confused about what it was. I mean, you know, that's enough. That's enough. Kind of moving your head and going like this. That's enough, huh? Give me my check. I got you. Fuck that. Fuck you. Sorry, man. Smilin Sam. Sorry, Jack. That's not entertainment. Randa Marcos and Jocelyn Jones Leibarger didn't really care. I like Randa Marcos' story. Didn't care. Still don't care. And I called it for Colby Covington III. And I also, Bagatinov was great. I don't know how he got this crap position, but it was an overmatched Gina Herrera. So this was a decent night of fights. I mean, am I jumping up and down? Does this show deserve to go on longer? Have I already mentioned Nazis? Yes. I could end the show right now, but I won't. Not right away because the Fedor fight. Fedor and Maldonado. And everybody's talking about this today. It's like, look, it's great to see this guy from anybody else, given the punishment that Fedor took, would have folded. This is old school shit. this is the kind of stuff that, you know, that made mixed martial arts something that the olders of us who got into it for. When you see a guy digging down deep, and you know, well, you know what? I saw that happen with Ali. Saw him dig down deep too. Saw him dig down deep, I just can't. People are remembering the early Ali, the one post Liston taking a dive to him. And I mentioned this on the Ozzy's on the e-button on Ozzy's Facebook Live page. I didn't mention that Sonny Liston's sparring partner, who I used to train with, was a complete lunatic. But that guy, I met this guy because the guy's walking around in a T-shirt that says, "Happiness is killing someone." Now, if you saw somebody with a T-shirt like that, you might chuckle, because I know in your mind's eye you're imagining he went to one of those T-shirt places where you can print up the T-shirt, and so you got like normal like lettering, kind of like, you know, or some stylized thing. You're not thinking it was a wife beater T-shirt with a black scribbly shaky hand black marker where the guy had written it in uneven letters on the front and the back, because he wanted to make sure you saw it coming and going. And so finally I had to ask him, I said, "Hey, dude, what's the deal? You know, what's going on?" He's like, "Well, you know, one of these days he'd come out of sparring with Liston, and they were sparring at a gym, you know, boxing gyms, and not like these fern bars at a UFC gym sometimes. And he gets into an argument with some guy. You know, if you're an East Coast guy, people, I can tell you that time I get in my car. I didn't have a car. I borrowed my stepfather's car. It's an orange VW Bug. So I'm walking up. There are two guys sitting on it eating lunch. I'm looking at them. They look at me. I go around to the door. I put the key in. I look at them. They look at me. I throw my bag in. I close the door. I roll the window down. I put the key in. I start the car. They look at me. I look at them. Finally, I have to lean my head out the window, and I go like this. "Hey!" And the guys look at me, and they're like, and they get off the car. So Sonny Liston's sparring partner is coming out of the gym. There's a guy leaning on his car. He goes, "Get off the fucking car." They're not like Californians. When I first got out to California, I had to piss. I was hanging out with some Californians. I go, "Hold on." And I pissed on this car, like a car tire, like a dog would in New York. Just pissed on it. And they were like shocked. And now that I'm a Californian, I know if I came out of a store and some guy's pissing on my car, a beating is afoot. So he says, this guy, "Get off my fucking car." And the guy gives him some fucking lip, and he, bam, punches him. The guy's head smashes through the glass of the driver's side window, and it smashes, and he slides, and the window cuts his throat. And the guy's bleeding out on the sidewalk. He's like this. I said, "So what did you do then?" He goes, "I applied pressure, right, to the wound." I go, "You applied pressure?" He's like, "Yeah, I applied pressure." And I don't get it. And he says, "With my foot." So he stomps on the guy's throat. That's what he did. He stomps on the guy's throat. And the guy died. And this guy, I don't know, I didn't know him before then, but he was a strange guy. So this is how I got all my information about the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali. But, you know, those latter days of Muhammad Ali, they were nothing to see. And I'm not enough of a sadist where I feel like Fedor has done, but, you know, these guys are not thinking long term. Like, what am I going to do? Somebody, Harry Edwards, made a good point. He said, Muhammad Ali, had he not spent that 3 years dealing with this jail thing in the draft, he probably, you know, would have made enough money so he wouldn't have had to fight those fights later on. I don't know. I don't know about shelf life. I mean, you do remember the big hubbub about Fedor retiring, right? Man, my great-grandmother used to say, "All the goodbyes ain't God," and that, sure enough, is true. And you know, if they hadn't given Liddell a job inside, they could keep a watch on him. That was true love on the bald one's part. True love. True love, because it stopped him from fighting. Because you know when he's watching Dan Henderson, Chuck Liddell sitting there going, "Yeah, buddy, let me get me in there with Johnny Boney Joni." And that's the next fight that's up, right? July 9th, UFC. Well, there's another one, but I guess the one that we're all geeked about, UFC 200. And Johnny Bojo, we'll talk about that coming up. I know I didn't go too much into I don't want to be the pop-off, mess-up man, but you know, people approach us all the time. We'll see what happens. Understand, I'm loyal, so I'm thinking about it vis-a-vis if I did it, because I'm seeing people like Chelsea Handler stealing the format, and there's one other show. So I'm mindful of this. Anyway, I got to get out of here. So I'm sorry if this is a shortened show. You know, it was a brief night of fights for me. Well, it was about 4 freaking hours of fights, but you know what I mean. I'm not going to spend 20 minutes talking about Bagatelle. And typically I have stories, but I come from training. I'm stinking dirty. I got to get up to San Francisco. I got to write the intro to the show, and I got to do this all in like about 13 minutes. So I got to go. So sorry, this is an abbreviated show. We come up later on in the week with If I Did It. And of course, there's a Care Don't Care preview if there's a fight the following weekend, which I'm not sure if there is now because I don't have the schedule in front of me. And you can follow me at Twitter at Eugene S. Robinson. But I block it, so you have to apply, and it'll be pending. And then I look to make sure you're not a lunatic or a porn bot, and then I okay you. I want to know who's at the party. So anyway, short on philosophy, short on philosophizing. I did mention Herzog. Did I mention Herman Hesse? I don't know if I did. Anyway, this is round number 310. Happy Father's Day. If you got a father that's worth a good goddamn, give him a pat on the back. You know, if you got a father who's not worth a good goddamn, content yourself with the fact that, you know, that's one phone call you don't have to make. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Round number 310. I'm Eugene S. Robinson. Look what you made me do with a great return voice. Later.